to impact your children if you have children, and it's impacting people around the world. So our government's decision, and I really want you to understand, do you know how grave the situation is?
I do understand,
and do you have children?
I've got children.
And do you love those children?
Indigo, please.
今回出てくるのはジャストストップオイルという悪名高い環境活動団体に所属している環境活動家です。ジャストストップオイルといえば、美術館に乱入して有名な名画の額縁に手をくっつけたり、ガソリンスタンドを破壊して営業妨害をしたり、ゴッホのひまわりにトマトスープを投げつけて汚したニュースでよく見るアホな人たちです。逮捕者も100名以上出しているほぼ犯罪組織ですが、一応非暴力を掲げています。動画では過激な活動に対して誰も理解を示していないとキャスターが忠告しますが、彼女の耳には全く聞こえていないようで、いかに自分たちが正しいかだけをまくし立てます。聞いた質問には答えず、自分たちが言いたいことだけ言う姿を一体誰が応援するのでしょうか。
We're joined now by Indigo Rumbelow from Just Stop Oil. Thanks for coming in. What do you think you're achieving with these incredibly disruptive and also dangerous protests?
Hello. I'm sure you'll agree we're in an incredibly grave situation with the climate crisis. So Just Stop Oil has one simple demand, and that is that the UK government put an end to licensing new oil and gas in the UK.
But I'm interested to know about these tactics. What evidence do you have that blocking the busiest motorway in the UK, causing endless disruption for tens of thousands of people, is actually achieving anything?
We need everybody to come to join us so we don't have to cause this type of disruption on the motorways. We need to be sat outside Parliament with tens and tens of thousands of people demanding an end to new oil and gas.
Yes, but you don't need to resort to this kind of disruptive behaviour, because it seems to me what people are talking about, Indigo, are your methods and not your message. So your message is being completely lost because of the methods that you are using, which are infuriating people and disrupting life for so many people.
So the climate crisis is disrupting people around the world right now, and even here in the UK this summer we saw the effects of the climate crisis, with the UK getting 40 degrees heat and birds falling out of the sky and pensioners dying before they should. This is just the beginning, and the climate crisis is going to get worse and worse and worse unless we act.
But we know
and
that.
We know
we cover that. We cover that on the news. We know all that. Yeah. I'm just talking about these tactics. The message you have, the message that you want to get across, get completely lost. I mean, your message is certainly lost on the woman who didn't get to hospital for her stroke treatment. Your message is certainly lost on the patient who didn't get to hospital for her cancer treatment appointment. And your message is also certainly lost on Tony Banbury, the man who missed his father's funeral. So I guess my question is, what is the point of doing it like this?
So it's very clear that the disruption will end as soon as the government issue this statement to stop new oil and gas. But we will have to continue because at the moment, I just do not know what else we're going to do. Do you have any other ideas of how we could get our government to issue a statement to end new oil and gas? Because this isn't an issue of just green policy or just the climate protesters. It's an issue that's going to impact you, it's going to impact me, it's going to impact your children if you have children, and it's impacting people around the world. So our government's decision to go ahead with new oil and gas with the full knowledge that this will kill millions of people is a complete act of betrayal on my generation.
But we're talking about here now the tactics that you are using. I mean, listen to what Tony Banbury said. These people have forced me not to go to my father's funeral, and it's not like I get a second chance. I will never forget what they have done, and I will never forgive what they have done. So my point again to you is that the way you are going about this means that people are not listening to the message. They are just talking about the method, and they don't like the method.
It's a very serious situation.
But we know that. Well, I'm talking about the tactics you are using. Listen to the police officer, Chief Constable of Essex. He says this: I think it is only a matter of time before somebody gets killed. The only way this is going to stop is if Just Stop Oil frankly grow up and realise that they are putting people's lives at risk. Doesn't he have a point that you need to grow up before someone gets killed? Because you're making your point, you can make your point in other ways.
So the way I see it, we're completely addicted to fossil fuels. Have you ever tried to ask someone to stop smoking?
Yes, look, I know.
So I've asked my dad to stop smoking, and that's because I loved him, yes? And he was told that if he keeps smoking, he's going to get cancer.
Yes.
And the scientists will tell him, you know, he's going to get cancer.
But
it's not a very pleasant process. Yeah, I'm accepting that it isn't pleasant, and I'm accepting that we feel empathy for all of those people out there. But what we're trying to do is to get everyone to come together, to get our government to stop licensing new oil and gas in order to save life.
But there are ways of doing it that can avoid tens of thousands of people having their lives completely
disrupted. Just weeks ago, a third of Pakistan was underwater. The rains have failed in Somalia for the 5th year in a row, meaning mothers cannot feed their children.
But we know that, and we covered that. We had correspondents out there. There is a COP27 conference.
You may have been covering it, but the media has failed to make political change.
Hang on,
Politics has failed us. I'm 28. This is the 27th COP conference. And what has happened every single year? The emissions have risen and risen and risen. If you were doing your job properly, everyone would be out on the street. But they're not. I really want you to understand. Do you know how grave the situation is?
I do understand.
And do you have children?
I've got children.
And do you love those children?
Indigo, please, I understand the point you're making. You are here today to justify the tactics. You're effectively
Do you love those children more than you love fossil fuels?
You are committing a crime. Why should...
That's what we're asking you to do. We're asking you to side with young people who are asking our government very politely, in line with the UN, saying that we need to come off fossil fuels.
That's one point.
With the knowledge that we're going to go over 1.5 degrees and this will undermine the rule of law. We're asking people...
Stop shouting at me, Indigo.
To just...
Look, you are breaking the law. Your protests are law-breaking. Why should you be allowed to interfere with the rights of ordinary, law-abiding people going about their daily business? That's the question I'm asking.
Let's, me and you, we can come together, we'll put a referendum up and it'll say, would you like to destroy much of life on Earth, including everything you know and love, or... would you like to not? Would you like your government to insulate your house, give you an affordable public transport system, tax the polluters who are making money off people who are starving and cold and hungry in their homes this winter? What do you want to do? So destroy everything we know and love.
Why are you at COP27 making this point? Why are you at COP27? That is the forum
destroy everything you know and love,
this point.
Or not.
There are more oil lobbyists at COP27 than there are people like you. Why aren't you there making your point?
Yeah, and back to this idea. Isn't that disgusting?
Why do you...
Imagine that. Think about my dad when he was smoking. Imagine if the cancer research invited Benson and Hedges into their, debate on what they're going to do about lung cancer.
Indigo, answer me this. What do you achieve?
It's disgusting.
Well, I haven't asked the question yet. Answer me this. What do you achieve by attacking things people hold dear? Things people hold dear, like works of art, like statues. What do you achieve by that, honestly?
Yeah, you've asked me a very reasonable question.
What do you achieve by that?
So we've been disrupting the art galleries, we've been disrupting football matches, we've been disrupting the M25, and we're saying the media is not doing their job properly and they're not telling you the truth about what's coming down the line.
Listen,
the governments are not acting. So we need people to come together, face up to the truth that we're going to pass over this threshold of 1.5 degrees of warming. We're going to plummet towards total destruction.
Indigo, we have climate programmes, so go on climate programmes and talk about that. Go to COP27 and talk about that. But there are people across this country who are fed up with having their lives disrupted by your people. And if you want to talk about what Just Stop Oil is, what is Just Stop Oil? Just Stop Oil, what, now? When? How soon do you want to just stop oil?
That's a really good question.
Because the economy, it seems to me, and I'm sure you'll agree, is driven. Economies around the world are driven by oil. So when do you want to stop oil?
We will agree there are more things that are important than the economy, won't we?
Would you agree then?
Could I just tell you, because it was a good question.
By 2050 enough for you?
So
is that net zero by 2050
let me explain the demand, because I think you'll find it very, very reasonable. All we are doing, in order to stop the disruption, the government would have to say, we're going to stop issuing the 130 new licences for drilling in the North Sea, and we're going to say no to the pending coal mine decision.
But
and we've got 7 years of reserves.
So my question
to
you then
say 5,
is why do you have to go and
7.
hang off gantries above the busiest motorway in Britain? You've said it. I mean, the other thing you said...
Let's get Rishi Sunak in here and say,
you've
got rid of some of Truss's toxic legacy. One second. He put fracking away. He said, oh, what a silly idea. She's brought in this new fracking. Well, now he needs to say, I have an opportunity here to go to the COP conference and say, Britain is going to lead the way.
Indigo.
We're going to stop drilling for new oil and gas.
You said in a newspaper the other day, in order to protect your freedom, your rights, and all that you love, will you stand with us? Now, it seems to me that what you're doing on these motorways and what you're doing to cause the police no end of problem, and what you're doing in risking your lives as well as people's lives on the motorway, people are not going to come and stand with you. How do you expect people to come and stand with you if you are disrupting their lives to this extent? It doesn't take this to get your message across.
OK, so if it wasn't for women like the suffragettes, I wouldn't have a vote. I couldn't own anything, I don't think. Every right and liberty that we have, your working rights, my rights to vote as a woman, they have been fought for. They weren't just handed down by people, down from those with power. They were fought for. And every single one of those liberties that is at risk because of the climate crisis.
OK. Indigo, Rumbelow, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
あまりにもひどすぎる動画でした。問われたことには答えず、自分たちのしたことを徹底的に正当化する。客観的に見ればおかしいとしか思えないのですが、彼女たちにはそれがわからないようです。正義を振りかざした人間が一番凶悪である、と誰かが言っていましたが、まさにその通りですね。自分たちが正しいと思っているので、平気で関係のない芸術品を汚せますし、葬式に行きたい人の邪魔をします。ジャストストップオイルにリーダーはいないそうですが、結局のところこういうのはお金がもらえるからやっているのです。環境保護を叫ぶことで、環境に配慮するポーズをしたい企業からお金を巻き上げて、お互い得をする。被害に遭うのはいつも関係のない善良な市民です。皆さんはどう思いますか？ぜひコメントで意見を教えてください。この動画が良かったら高評価、チャンネル登録をお願いします。では次の動画でお会いしましょう。